available in more homes than the Pac-12 network, we are the podcast of champions.
They give it back down to the 30, or down to the 20. All the band is out on the field.
I'm David Woods from Bruin Report Online.
And here he goes, Miles Jack.
And I'm Ryan Abraham from USCFootball.com.
Liner going to try to sneak it ahead. Touchdown, SC.
We are the podcast of champions. Welcome, everyone, back to the podcast of champions. I'm David Woods from Bruin Report Online, the UCLA site on the 24/7 Sports Network.
And I'm Ryan Abraham from USCFootball.com, the USC site on the 24/7 Sports Network. And together we make the podcast of champions, talking all things Pac-12 football. Week 1 is in the books. We're going to recap what happened in the Pac-12. Wasn't great. 9-3, good. 0-3 versus Power 5, bad. Our picks, again, bad, but Dave beat me by 1, so that was good. But we got to get to all that. We're going to preview Week 2. We got the first Pac-12 game on the schedule. It's a big game, too. They got
Is it big game?
Not big game. Oh, you didn't use the there's no the for there. You just said big game, that's what you're supposed to do, but you always say the big game.
But you said a big game.
It's a big game because
you used an article because that's the way humans talk.
There was an article in there because it's not just big game.
It's not just the big game.
It is a big game.
Exactly.
It's a general big game because you got Kirk Herbstreit. You got the
right.
ESPN
One is a general article. One is a definitive article.
Right.
And you wanted to use the general one to differentiate it from the definitive one, which would indicate the Cal versus Stanford game, the big game.
Right.
Got it.
But yeah, that's good because we got like Kirk Herbstreit. It's an ABC game, so that's pretty good for the Pac-12. So hopefully, we got to turn things around, have a better showing. We are simulcasting live on our YouTube channel, which we've built up some of the subscribers there. We got a bunch of people watching live, so thank you if you're doing that. We'll be able to put your comments, questions, concerns up on the screen. It was funny. We had right out of the gate, we had little Sebastian saying that the freeze frame of David's face is false advertising. So because you were smiling, your smiling face.
I'm a smiley guy. I don't know what people are talking about.
So
Look at this grin.
So I guess the preview I did. Yeah, there you go. See, that's not false advertising. You can see it right there.
Frozen.
Yeah, it's right there. So we're if you can follow us wherever you are on your podcasting platforms, but especially on Apple Podcasts, because that's where we can grow the show. Leave us a 5-star review and a positive rating or a negative rating. Any kind of rating is fine. I mean, any kind of review is fine. We just want that 5 stars, and we'll move from there.
Penix.
We got the only person that's saying Penix instead of Penix, but that's Dave, because you know him. We got a lot of comments in there already, so thank you for doing that, making this an interactive show. You can tweet at us at Pac-12 Podcast, the website, Pac12podcast.com. We'll put all our picks up there that you can avoid and do the opposite of, or whatever you want to do. Our survival pool, we'll put that stuff up there. The links to the survival pool, don't forget to enter. We had a whole bunch of people enter. We'll get into that in a second. I'll put the link in our show notes and stuff up on the website, Pac12podcast.com. And if you're over on Reddit, reddit.com/r/podcast of champions. That's a great way to chat with other POC listeners as well. But we got a lot to get to today. First of all, how you doing, man? It's Thursday morning. We're doing these shows Thursday morning. I know it's a weird time to record, but it's kind of like when it works. So doing a live show Thursday morning, maybe not the ideal time, but it's perfect. We got our loyal listeners in there.
Yeah, I've been up since 5:30. You've probably been up since 5. We're good. We're great. This is like midday for us.
Yeah, I was 2 hours at the gym already. I made some bacon and eggs. Did a little work. I'm doing some TikToking. Have you done that yet? Like kind of promoting some of our content on TikTok?
No.
You're not
no, I'm not 14. What's wrong with you?
Well, but we're trying
No, TikTok is something you do and you like look through because of the funny videos, but you don't make videos. How old are you?
I'm making videos.
You're 51.
Get
a grip.
I put a little video of Latrell McCutcheon like just doing a tackling drill. So we can film like 20 minutes or so. And it got like 135,000 views since yesterday. Like great. Like, so it's like you can go viral on that stuff. We have a couple videos that have like over 1 million. So I don't know. I'm trying to do that.
No.
Yeah, whatever. Okay. Before we jump into everything, I definitely want to thank our sponsor, MyBookie. So they're doing a double your deposit promo right now. Use the promo code PAC12. You can deposit money at MyBookie. And if you put $100, they'll double it. to $200. So take advantage of that. I've been continue to put my bets into my bookie. I bet every game that we bet, so I lost a little bit this last week. So I got to build it back this week. I feel good about some of these games, so we'll have to get that back there. But my bookie.
How'd you feel last week?
No, it didn't feel good. And there was actually, there's so many games. I'm like, oh, come on. You get like Colorado really. Well, we'll get into all that stuff.
How'd you do last week?
We'll get into that in a second too. I told everyone. I went 5-6-1, and you went 6-5-1. So it was very close. Cool. And stupid Utah didn't win that game when they should have won. That hurt the Pac-12. That hurt me. Hurt my feelings. Hurt everybody. But I'll bounce back on my bookie this week. So make sure you get in there. If you haven't deposited money yet, you can do that. Your first time, they'll double your deposit. Just use the promo code Pac-12. That's for us, obviously. But it's fun. I'm really excited that I get to bet. I'm putting bets in every week of all my picks. So I might pick like some that are special ones, and I'll do a little more. I also did some over/under for the whole season totals. We'll see about all of that. But make sure you go over to my bookie. NFL starts tonight. You can bet on that stuff. Holy cow. NFL's tonight, David. Like, this is insane. I know you don't care.
Not a bit.
Don't care. But we got college football rolling along, and we got to do a lot. As far as newsy stuff goes, there's not a ton we want to get to because we got so much other stuff that we have to get to. But I wanted to talk about the playoff expansion. This was sort of like the Friday news dump, but it was the biggest news in college football in a long time, and we've had a lot of big news. They've approved the expanding to 12-team model that will be, the very least, 2026, possibly before that. And if you say, like, who cares, 12 teams, 4 teams, the good news for the Pac-12 is, in my opinion, this probably is going to stem the tide of all the expansion stuff going on. If you're Oregon and you're Washington, you really need to leave. You can win the Pac-12, and you're in. You're in the playoff, and you're guaranteed to be in. Like, the top 6 conference champions are in.
How can you make that disingenuous argument when you've been making the argument throughout that it's all about money? It's all just the money. It's money, money, money. It has nothing to do with competitive balance. And now you're saying, oh, they have no reason to leave. They have every reason to leave because the LA schools upset the balance by departing for the Big Ten. So,
but you have access to the playoff again.
Oh, they have access to the playoff as a $30 million revenue school compared to $90 million revenue schools. So beyond the disadvantage that was already going to be present with the LA schools remaining in the Pac-12, which would have entailed probably the Pac-12 getting a team in, SEC getting like 6 teams in. Now you're not going to have the LA schools and their money. So you're going to be at an even greater disadvantage if you take your theory that the money is all that matters. So Oregon winning the Pac-12, it's going to be like, I don't know, is App State getting a bid? Is like the Sun Belt? Because it's going to be like that.
They could. But so there's 5 Power 5 conferences, right? Or 2 and 3 or whatever you want to do it. But you would have to have like the Sun Belt and the Mountain West, or the AAC and the Mountain West getting in and the Pac-12 getting left out. But the money from the playoff is going to be big too. So I think there's going to be more revenue. Now, there's still going to be a revenue gap. And maybe that Oregon or Washington still want to go. But if you're trying to get access to the playoff,
what's the cut with 1 bid out of 12 compared to like the other leagues that you're competing with?
Yeah, I don't know. They haven't announced any of that kind of stuff yet. So you still I don't know. I mean, I feel like the Big Ten is probably less likely to add more teams. Like if you're Indiana, Illinois, Maryland, like you're in the Big Ten, you're like, we can get into the playoff. We don't need more teams to kind of muddy up the waters. And I don't know, even if this was announced a year ago, does USC and UCLA leave? Probably, I think, but there's more to think about if you know that you have access to the playoff. I mean, the Pac-12 hadn't been in the playoff in 5 years. Like, you become irrelevant, in my opinion.
But that wasn't as we've talked about at length, that wasn't an access issue. That was a quality of teams issue. They didn't have good enough teams to make the playoff, so they didn't make the playoff. When they've had good enough teams to make the playoff, I mean, it's sort of circular, but it's not. Washington was good enough to make it, and they haven't had a team as good as that 2016 Washington team since then.
True. But if there was a 12-team playoff, you would have had a team that was good enough to make it because there was more teams.
Right. Good enough to make it and then good enough to lose by, I don't know, just spitballing, like 46 to Georgia.
Yeah. We're going to get to all the games and stuff, but I want you to think about this before we go into it. You have to tell me, give me a good answer, what your favorite point that Oregon scored in that game. Like, which one? There's 3 to choose from. Pick your favorite one and explain why. I know I went 500 words on my desk in the morning. Okay, so we have.
Sorry, Oregon fans.
No,
there's going to be lots of that, though.
I want to look at the big picture thing first. Maybe we can do this so we had our kind of notions going in, who's going to be good, who's going to be bad. I felt Oregon State was going to be pretty good. I feel good about that. I felt Arizona was going to be a lot better. I thought the schedule was really hard, but I feel good that they're going to be there. I thought Oregon would just be kind of mediocre. I feel pretty good about that. I thought Utah was going to be elite. Don't feel as good, but I feel
hang on.
What?
You thought Oregon was going to be mediocre, and yet you picked them to cover against Georgia, essentially in a road game in Atlanta?
Yeah, 17 points. It was just a lot of points.
How many did they lose
No, but
by?
I'm talking about the season predictions. No, they lost by all the points. Take all the points, put them in a pile. That's the margin of defeat. But I didn't pick them to go 10-2 or anything. I thought there'd be. I forget what maybe 8-4. So I forget what I picked them. But I thought they'd be good, but not
right.
They're not the second best team in the Pac-12. I feel pretty good about it. Stanford. I'm getting second thoughts on being complete butt.
Don't do that. We did that last year. Remember we did that last year when they scored 42 against USC, and we're like, oh no, maybe Stanford's not ass. They're going to be ass. They're going to be really bad.
I like the conviction. They're going to still be ass. Go with that. I thought Washington State would. So I'm a little worried about Washington State. I thought they would be pretty good overall. And UCLA didn't look great, but they're probably have a decent season. I think Washington I thought was going to be pretty good, turn things around with the offense. They looked all right. So I think in general, I thought Colorado would be complete ass, and they definitely look like complete ass. Arizona State will be one to watch. I think they're going to be bad, but maybe they're not quite as bad. I thought Cal could be a bowl team. They didn't look great, but they're okay. I don't know. So I feel pretty good about my preseason sort of assessment of how things could go. What do you feel about some of your any teams you think, oh crap, I was way off on that one?
No, I mean not to. I felt like my read was pretty good. I think the one that actually surprised me in the positive the most was probably Washington, because I was expecting it to take a little bit longer for DeBoer to really put his offense in, but that thing against Kent, I mean, we'll talk about the game, but that thing against Kent State looked like it was fully operational. Penix looked great. He was great out there. So I would say that one in the positive, and then I would probably say in the negative, Cal or Washington State. Cal just looks like Cal. I mean, what can you say about Cal?
Yeah,
it's the most just any knowledge about Cal football slips off your brain so quickly.
They got Chase Garbers 2.0. He'll be fine.
It's eternal sunshine. But I would say Cal or Washington State. Washington State was probably the most disappointing.
Okay. Yeah, that was the one I was like, ooh, they can turn things around too. But I thought they'd be a little bit more exciting. But in general, the picks weren't good. But I feel like, all right, the assessment of these teams, I feel pretty good about. So why don't we get into our very first
Pac-12 Roundup
of the 2022 college football, Pac-12 football season.
The only rankings you need.
Yeah, we are back, baby. We have the POC Power Rankings adjusted for week one, and we're going to go in reverse order, as we always do, and kind of recap all of these games. Our number 12 team, we had them at 11. We gave them a little credit. Not anymore. Number 12.
Colorado Buffaloes.
Oh, boy.
So bad. We were both wrong on this one. We both had Colorado at 14 points.
Absolutely terribad. So here's the thing to take away from this one. So TCU ended up winning 38-13. It wasn't that close. It should have been 38-6. Colorado scored a junk time touchdown. But TCU didn't look good. TCU looked bad for most of this football game,
which I thought they would be. That's why.
And I still think they might be. I still think they might be a bad team. The first half of this football game was one of the worst played halves of football I think I've seen in a long, long time. And they still pasted Colorado on the road in Boulder by 25 points. Carl Durrell has clearly made the wrong choice at quarterback. There was lots of talk about JT Shrout not being ready, coming back off the injury. That's obvious bullshit. Obvious. And as a longtime Carl Durrell watcher, it's just the pure stubbornness kicking in again. Brendan Lewis was his guy, so he's going to continue to play Brendan Lewis. Brendan Lewis threw the ball 18 times for 78 yards in this game. That's horrible. JT Shrout was better, and in this offense, throwing almost 7 yards an attempt is great. He was 23 attempts for 157 yards. Clearly has an arm, clearly can throw the football. He came in and did that, and then he was benched to start the second half. They still had a chance to be in this football game, and I still think they had a chance to maybe win it if Shrout starts the second half and plays the whole second half.
Yeah.
Probably not, but maybe. But instead, no, we just got more Brendan Lewis, who wasn't good. And it's not all Brendan Lewis's fault. I think if they had an offense that was designed for his skills a little bit better, like if he was running the ball a lot more, because he's clearly a dynamic runner, that he clearly has that ability. I mean, he was 8 carries for 42 yards in this game, but they don't. It's still Darrell's shit offense from 20 years ago. So
Are you familiar with this?
It was really bad. Honestly, TCU's quarterback, Chandler Morris, he's a son of a coach, and as you know, I hate all sons of coaches. He's bad. Their quarterback was really, really bad, and if he'd been better, they would have gotten blown out by 6 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Horrible game.
We got a comment from 7861, I don't know, so whatever it is, TDY. Do you see the Iowa game where the offense was put back 100 years? Iowa won 7-3, did not score an offensive touchdown. They
scored 7 points on 3 scores.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Two safeties and a field goal. Would you say that Colorado's offense was worse than Iowa's offense on the day? I don't know.
Yeah, but here's the thing I'd say about Iowa's offense is at least it was kind of fun. You know, they were doing some stupid things. Colorado's was just depressing. It was depressing to watch that football game.
It was definitely not something you should have watched. There was a lightning delay in the beginning, so that was a little bit weird.
Maybe that's what threw them off. Otherwise, their offense would have been just gangbusters.
But I think Colorado's first drive, they completed a pass that I think went nowhere. They ran up the middle, it went nowhere. It's like 3rd and 10. They got a big pass, and it's like, wow, they're actually moving the ball. Like maybe this is a different Colorado. And then they get stuffed on 4th and 1, and it just pretty much give up a punt return for a touchdown. It was just sort of like, this is what Colorado is going to be. I had a little hope. JT Shrout. Okay, so the quarterback position is a guy that you want to throw the football to other athletes that are on your team and get them the ball and let them run with it and score points.
Hang on, I got to take notes. What are you saying?
He looks like a guy that would throw the football and get it to athletes, and I'm not sure why you don't want to go with him. I don't know what you're protecting. I mean, just if you're Colorado, you have to do whatever you can to play the best guy. And you have a guy that looks like he's throwing some dimes out there, Halftime, this was 7-6. TCU had 76 total yards. So TCU was winning. They had the punt return thing. But Colorado's defense actually played well. The offense was shit, obviously. Second half, TCU started offensing, and Colorado decided to not offense. So then it was this blowout. But it was close. I was like, okay, I feel good we can cover this game, right? Because TCU's not doing anything on offense. Colorado's not doing anything on offense. Well, TCU ended up doing something on offense in the second half, and it was just...
Yeah, they ran the ball over Colorado in the second half. I think a lot of that was probably the defense getting a little bit dejected with how ineffectual the offense was. But, yeah. Big bad blowout.
Look at dirty. We're getting some good comments. People are actually liking this. You guys are the best. Keep up the great work. Let's get you guys to 50K subs. Let's do that.
Let's do it.
I think we have 250 subs or something
Dirty
like that.
knees done to me.
Nice. Yeah. Thank you for all that. Trevor says lightning delay more exciting than the offense. Yeah. That's this was one of the more disappointing outcomes for me. This was the Friday game, I believe.
Yes.
So my picks, I think both our picks were 0-2 to start. So that's a pretty big hole to kind of go into. But just thinking that Colorado kept it close versus Texas A&M last year. It was close in the first half in this game. It's sort of like the way I went with it. I thought that's the way it would go. And then just Colorado did absolutely nothing, and that was bad.
Yep.
All right. Our number 11 team.
Stanford Cardinal.
All right, this one went, I would say, about as expected. Colgate was a 41-point dog. We both knew absolutely that Stanford was not going to cover 41 points. They scored 41.
No, not 41.5. It was 41.5. They did
41.5. Okay, so they didn't even score the amount they needed to get to a shutout cover.
We got this one right.
Yes.
Right.
Stanford scored 41. They beat Colgate by 31. Colgate was allowed to score 10 points. Stanford was a little gong show in the first half. They really, really struggled to move the ball. They were doing stupid stuff. They fumbled. Colgate scored off of a fumble return. It was dumb. It was 7-7 with into the second quarter. It was still 7-7. So Stanford was kind of struggling a little bit. They went into halftime 28-7. I would say here clearly like they were in no danger of losing this game at any point, but they played with them a little bit too much to make me think that Stanford's going to be any good this year. E.J. Smith is getting a lot of pub for averaging 10 yards a carry, and he looks good, but it was against Colgate. Who the hell knows? Tanner McKee looked fine, but again, it's against Colgate, so who the hell knows? The defense, I would say, allowed quite a bit too much on the ground for me to be confident against any team that's good, because Colgate isn't. That's not a good FCS program. So, long story short, I still think Stanford's ass.
Yeah.
People are talking themselves into Stanford after this game, and I have no clue why.
I don't know if it's just this game, but, there's a lot of guys are back from injury, so the offensive line should be a little bit better. There's better receivers. Obviously, Tanner McKee is really good. But I'm sticking with the butt. I'm sticking with Stanford's going to not be very good. I think I picked them to go 1-11. I don't think it's going to be like that, but I think it could be another 3-win type of season for Stanford. We'll see if I'm wrong. We don't know a whole lot, the Colgate, but they had special teams miscues. I feel like you got to stick with your general principles. And this was a Stanford team that was awful, lost 7 in a row, and you didn't make a single change on the coaching staff. They had one dude from the transfer portal from Oklahoma. That's about it. You didn't make the changes. Smith, the running back, he looks legit. I think he was averaging like 10 yards a carry, had a couple touchdowns. McKee throws for over 300 yards. That's what you're supposed to do against a really terrible team.
Here's the thing I'll say about Smith is he had one 87-yard touchdown. In his other carries, he had 31 yards on 10 carries.
That's bad.
Against Colgate.
That's it's a very good point. Okay, so you're making me feel better about. I'm sticking with Stanford is butt.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you.
Stanford will be butt.
You were getting wishy-washy, and I didn't like to hear that from you. I want commitment.
I
want fervor.
I said 1-11.
We don't believe in many things on this show, but the assiness of Stanford is one of our prime truths. It's the prime directive of this show.
There's the Jake.
We want to beat up those 5 fans into a rough paste. Sorry, Matthew.
All right. Okay. Let's see. Let's go to our next team. Who do we got next? We have. This is disappointing.
Washington State Cougars.
This one exactly as I expected. Not exactly. But
so mad that you got this.
Close enough. All right. Washington State eventually beat Idaho 24-17. So this was not the only. So Utah-Florida was not the only game decided by effectively an end zone touchdown to seal the game. Idaho was driving at the end of this game to tie.
Yeah.
Gonna get kind of lost in the shuffle. This came close to being a very hilarious loss in that Moscow-Pullman corridor. Idaho was leading 10-0. Washington looked horrible. Washington State. Sorry. I'm so sorry.
Washington looked horrible.
I'm
wearing my Washington purple.
I'm just so eager to talk about Penix that I just can't help it.
We had someone in the chat that wanted to skip to Washington. I'm like, that's not how it works.
No, but I will give my best to Penix. Cameron Ward, they dropped Jaden DeLore for this guy. Remember that? Remember when they did that? We were like, oh, that Cameron Ward must be really good. Yeah, he wasn't in this game. He threw the ball 41 times for 228 yards. That's not great.
No.
3 touchdowns, but a lot of that was coming late. He was not good in the early stretches of this game. Washington State ran the ball pretty well, but I would say the biggest worry is just generally, I would say that offense did not look super explosive against Idaho. And, all things considered, I thought the defense was more or less fine. But, you're still allowing 17 points to Idaho.
Right.
And they were driving the ball really well at the end. So, yeah, not great. You don't want to draw too many conclusions from game one, but
start drawing.
Yeah, some concerning things in this game.
Start drawing conclusions. This was a tough one for me because I just really felt like I like the momentum that Washington State built up last year. You know, Jake Dicker takes over. Everyone seemed to rally around him. Ward, for all the reports I heard, just seemed like he was going to come in and just be super fun, and they were just going to throw the ball all over the field and just have a good time. You know, like I was pretty confident, like Caleb Williams coming to USC, they were going to he's going to throw the ball around. It's going to be great. They're going to have receivers, just have fun on the offense. And I felt like Washington State was doing the same thing. Not that they can't, not that this can't turn around, but that's a really disappointing result against a pretty crappy Idaho team that's just down the street. You were losing. You could have easily lost that game. And if you looked at some of the Dickard afterwards, he was like, "We won the game," and he was talking like that.
So that's why. So
I hate that.
Penix should absolutely be the quarterback for Dickard. Don't you think?
I mean, it's the Pac-12. We mess things up all the time. That's definitely a mess up. But he was talking about winning the game. He said, "We're going to learn from this." I don't like that crap. Like, you have to be like, "Holy crap, we are better than this. We sucked against Idaho. We're going back to the drawing board." We're like, not like trying to convince everyone, "Hey, man, we won. You were a 5-score favorite in this game, and you almost lost." So, no, this is not. There's no moral victory. You won the game, whatever. Like, you got to be better than that. So that was, I mean, Washington State, you needed a goal line interception to win the game. Like, that's insane. Like, this should not have been happening. So the good thing is I could kind of turn it off because I'm like, okay, they're not covering this one. 28.5 points was a lot, but I really felt like Washington State was going to be fun, and it wasn't.
No, this was a depressing slog through the slopes of Eastern Washington.
This was sort of like watching if the Colorado Cal offense had a baby. Like, that's what this was.
Oh, jeez.
Like,
wow.
Yeah.
Wow, I'm just picturing that.
And it's not fun. This was not the coup grade.
No, that's not a fun baby.
Holy cow.
That's like a colicky baby that's crying all the time, and you just want to put it in a room and close the door.
It's close the door for like a month and come back and hope for the best. Like, what do you think? It's like medieval.
I mean, you're taking it to a dark place. I'm just talking about giving yourself a break.
Oh boy, yeah, Washington State. I'm so glad we have the meow because that you've lost. I'm not even even if Washington State goes 11-1, you've lost your growl privileges. Like, you are
Washington State Cougars.
You are meow for the rest for eternity for doing this, for screwing this game up for me. And I run the board. I don't care what you do.
Meow.
You can send me flowers, whatever. You are meow forever.
Yep.
So just if everyone asks about the meow, I'm going to say Idaho. Interception in the end zone at the end of the game to beat Idaho. No. Okay. All right, let's go to our next team, who I just mentioned in a birthing sense.
California Golden Bears.
One of the parents of the Washington State offense. The sturdy Golden Bear didn't look so sturdy.
Isn't it perfect that they were the push?
Yes.
Like, there's like Cal.
No, but that's the thing about Cal football is you can't actually remember anything, so it's great that it's a push. I hope they have 12 pushes this year, where it's just I have no idea what happened in this game. It went about as I expected. Who knows?
Yeah.
Did we both have Cal to cover? Or Davis to cover?
I think I had Cal.
I think I had Cal too.
Let me see real quick. Sorry, I'm trying to put up comments. Where's the game? We both picked Cal, yeah. So we push.
Yeah, and it was closer than it should have been, which is for most of the game, I should say. Cal kind of controlled it, I would say, a little bit more in the second half. It was 17-7 at half. UC Davis was up 7-0 after a quarter. I don't know really what to say about Jack Plummer. I thought he was fine. I think the quarterback situation is more or less. Honestly, it didn't look too dissimilar from not to cast aspersions on our guy, but it didn't look any different from any Chase Garbers game I've ever seen. Like, he was fine. They were the stats of the game kind of kept it a little bit close. They were a 99%, likely to win. this game. So, it was just kind of a weird first half. Defensively, Davis was able to move the ball quite a bit better than they probably should have. They ran the ball well. They threw the ball okay. I'd be a little bit concerned about the Cal defense if I was a Cal fan, which I am very much not. But offensively, they looked fine. I mean, it didn't look horrible. But it's UC Davis, so not great.
No, not great. The push is like pretty standard. Now, Jack Plummer, 3 touchdowns, pick. It was a close game, kind of early on. Cal gets a pick 6 in the third quarter. That definitely helped. But without that, like, they're not covering this game. They're not pushing this game. So, but I felt like Plummer, and he had interviews and stuff afterwards. He was kind of chill on the interviews. I wasn't like loving the fact. I mean, he just seemed kind of like really laid back on the interview. So maybe it's a good Cal quarterback. But
how magical would it be if he had transferred to Washington instead, and he'd been able to change his first name to Jake?
Yeah, I mean, we would.
Then
he would not be Jack. We would call him.
Then he
Jake.
would be Jake Plummer.
Yeah.
I'm gonna call him Jake Plummer anyway.
Okay. I love
because it just rolls off the tongue a little bit better. So that'll make me more interested in Cal football. I'm just gonna call him Jake Plummer.
But I feel like in the second half he looked a lot more comfortable. They kind of like got a feel for the way. Definitely, like I said, the pick 6 helped. 11 different dudes caught passes. They spread the ball around a little bit. So I'm kind of like, if you look at a team that sort of just comes out of the gate and they're like, they were okay, whatever, against UC Davis, that's fine, but they can build on it. I kind of feel like that. I'm not looking at Colorado and going, man, they can build on that, or like. I
mean, what can they build on it?
Or just like even like Washington
house?
State. Like I didn't look at that. Like they can, but I don't feel like I don't have any confidence that Washington State's going to build on it. For Cal, you're sort of like, yeah, I thought they'd be like a 6-6 kind of team. They look like they can be competent on offense and play pretty good defense. So yeah, like I feel like this is still in the wheelhouse of where I thought Cal would be, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Okay, our number 8 team,
Arizona State Sun Devils.
All right, so this is again one where I think people are taking a lot from it. When I think you can take small positives from ASU blowing out Northern Arizona, but I think we took a little bit too much data from Northern Arizona having beaten Arizona last year.
Yeah.
And not realizing it's still Northern Arizona. They're still an FCS school. A competent FBS school should do this to an FCS school. And Arizona State might be competent. I think that's the biggest takeaway we can say from this game is that, okay, ASU might not be a dumpster fire yet at this point in the season. Because I think a lot of what we're baking into our preseason analysis of ASU is that they have already quit on Herm, and I don't think that's happened. That may happen at some point. The slightest sign of adversity, they might just be like, screw this. But it's not happening yet. Biggest takeaway for ASU is Valladay is a stud at running back. Ngata? What are we going with there?
I don't know.
Ngata is a really good number 2, and Emory Jones, for a good portion of this game, looked better than Jaden Daniels did at any point last year. So I think offensively, you've got to be pretty pleased. And then
Jaden Daniels he was like
all
of LSU's offense.
New environments for everyone, work out for everybody. That's great. And then the thing is, I just don't know how much, if anything, you can take away from the defensive performance. It certainly looked very good and dominant against NAU, but that's how you should look against NAU. We'll see if it continues. But that was it was everything you could have asked for as an Arizona State fan from an opening game against an FCS school.
Right. And we didn't think that there would be like we both kind of felt this would more be like the Cal game, where it's like you're playing an overmatched opponent and it's just sort of like stays close a little bit. Maybe you make a big play and but it just felt like it would be like close for a little while. This was not. This was blowout city right away.
Yeah.
Emory Jones was still playing in the fourth quarter when it was 37-3. So we didn't think Herm would be like all gas, no brakes, but he was like, I think they were trying to get some positive momentum or something, but this definitely didn't feel like a Herm Edwards game from before, just the way they were. And ASU was still playing well. You felt like there was enough points there that you could get like a backdoor cover coming from Northern Arizona. Like, nope. Like it was, all that was shut down. So this was the Thursday game. This was the kickoff game, and we were both wrong on this one as well. But like, yeah, it didn't go the way I thought, and maybe the takeaway is that ASU is more competent than we think, and we'll see as this goes on. But that's what you know. You can say, well, it was only against a bad team. We've seen teams play. We've seen Washington lose to a Montana. Like, it's not just, we've seen Washington State struggle with a bad team. If you blow out a bad team, I don't like when people discount it. Like, you at least did what you were supposed to do, right? And I think that's what
you're looking to avoid in these types of games is negative signs. And I don't think ASU showed any negative signs. So that's great. You haven't answered anything negatively after your FCS game. That's all you're looking for.
Okay. Trying to put up some comments and stuff here. Let's go to our number 7 team, drop into the bottom half.
Oregon Ducks.
All right, so it's bad. Like, it's really, really bad when you've got and I speak from experience here, Oregon fans. This isn't an unempathetic response, but when you've got fans writing like just goddamn fan fiction, like, oh man, well, we were really moving the ball pretty well there in the first half. Like, when you're writing stuff like that, your team just got ass blasted. Like, you just got crushed beyond belief.
Somebody wrote that?
Yeah, no, lots of people were saying, oh yeah, the offense, it was moving the ball okay. Like the pass game, the running game was working okay, and there was some good stuff to take from that first half. No, there wasn't. You lost by 46 points, and you looked bad doing it, and your defense looks horrible. Absolutely horrible. Lost 49-3. There's not too many teams that lose by 46 points and then turn out to be a really good team. There's some that turn out to be like 500, but there's not too many that go from that to like winning a Rose Bowl. The only one that I can think of in recent memory was USC in 2016, which had a really weird circumstance where Sam Darnold was still standing on the sideline ready to play quarterback, and they weren't using him for some whatever reason. This isn't that situation. We now have 2 straight staffs who have had no interest in Ty Thompson as a quarterback. Bo Nix is your guy, and Bo Nix is not that guy. He looked awful. He looked no, I won't say that. He looked exactly like Bo Nix has looked throughout his entire career, and I don't know what Landanning was thinking. That's the answer for you. But the offense, it wasn't good, but not too many offenses are good against Georgia. So if you want to take some solace in that, but 3 points is bad. 3 points is bad no matter who you're going against. And then defensively, that should be your 5-alarm fire, because Stetson Bennett,
he's a Heisman candidate now.
He literally he only had 6 incompletions in this game. You're putting absolutely no pressure on him. And the thing is, it's not like we're talking about what Cal might have looked like against Georgia, because I don't think the outcome would have been any different with Cal. Oregon has top 10 talent. To look like that against Georgia is a real concern. And I'm not going to throw out the, Landanning era entirely at this point, but they didn't look prepared. They didn't look at all ready for that game, and they should have looked somewhat more ready. Like, they should have been able to at least throw a punch, and I never saw a punch thrown.
No. The arms were tied behind.
It was rolled over and dead from the beginning.
What? Okay. 46 points. It could have been like Georgia could have wrote down a number and scored that many points. Like, let's go 90, and they could have done it. Like, the defense was bad. What were you concerned about, and why were we both not as high on Oregon being amazing this year? Was you got Landanning, his first time being head coach. He was only a major coordinator.
Hey, no. I want to say this.
What?
Probably his first time running a defense too.
Because
Kirby Smart runs his freaking defense.
So you were, it's one of those things where you promote a coordinator whose boss is the real coordinator, and that's one thing. He hadn't been doing it that long. You hire a whole bunch of recruiting, guys that are known for recruiting and not known for coaching. And then when you get to a game against, obviously, a really freaking good team that's got talent all over the place and is going to beat your ass more often than not, and they're Georgia looks really, really good anyway. But you have to look like you've been prepared. We're going to get to USC. I've seen many talented USC teams that just go out and they looked a lot like this. They didn't know what they were doing. People were confused. The play's not getting in, like that kind of stuff. it looks like you have a staff that's built around guys that are great at recruiting and not necessarily great at coaching. That was a concern we talked about going in. I don't feel any different watching this game. Now, the caveat is it's Georgia, and they could make anybody look terrible, and maybe Oregon kind of turns things around. But I think the concerns you have for the Ducks are real. When you talk about Bo Nix having to play like within the offense and stuff, and that's not who he is. He's a guy that goes out and just improvises.
Sorry,
that's who you got.
Sorry,
he threw 2 picks.
What you're talking about is a bad quarterback. You went out on the transfer market, and with your Oregon, like all that surrounding talent, and this is where I think our boy Land Danning is showing a lot of SEC bias.
Yeah,
is he was like, oh, well, this guy was fine at Auburn, so he's going to come into the Pac-12 and dominate. No, he sucked at Auburn, and he's going to suck in the Pac-12. And it's just this was the reality of who No Bix was, and I'm confused about why this decision was made. Maybe it was simply that was the best they could do on the open market, but did they make a run at Dylan Gabriel? I don't know, but there were other things to try on the transfer portal market besides Bo Nix.
Yeah, this was definitely disappointing, and I mean, it's not the most disappointing result in the Pac-12, but this is a big one. Like, I think a lot of people felt that Oregon could go in there and be somewhat competitive, at least for a while. You weren't in the same area code as competitive.
Well, and I want to cite one of the just what I mean by competent. Remember when Washington played Alabama in the playoff in 2016?
Yeah,
it wasn't like a close game, but it was 24-7. And Washington threw a punch. Like, they actually looked like they had a chance in that game going into the third quarter.
Yes.
This was nothing. This was, and so if you're trying to compare, is Oregon a potential playoff caliber team this year? Absolutely not. And are they a Pac-12 contender? I would say no. I don't think they're going to contend in the Pac-12. You don't lose by 46 points. That's a really hard thing to get past, because that means you were non-competitive in a way that, even in the Pac-12, even as down as it is, you got to show more fight than that.
Yeah, and obviously there's still a talented roster, and you can talent could win, but I'm not encouraged by the signs of what I saw, especially how bad the defense played. We'll see. Yeah, I mean, Stetson Bennett was fine last year. He's just had a great team around him. He looked like a all-world whatever. I mean, what was it? I think Georgia was 9 of 10 on third down. What? Insane. Some of those numbers are just crazy. All right. This is a good one. Moving up to our top half, number 6.
Arizona Wildcats.
Exactly what we thought it was going to be.
What a growl.
Yeah, I mean, not even joking. Arizona had, from a competition standpoint, one of the most impressive wins of week 1, probably one of the top 2 or 3. Arizona beat San Diego State on the road 38-20, despite the punter kicking the ball directly into his up man's butt in the end zone. Despite that happening, they still won by 18 points.
Yeah.
That shows mental strength. It shows all that stuff that you want from a potentially winning team. There was a lot to like about that offense. Jaden DeLora picked up where he left off at Washington State, looked really good. Jacob Cowing is one of the best receivers in the Pac-12 this year. I can say that pretty definitively after game 1.
Oops.
What?
I put the I'm sorry. I put the wrong picture up. I got a Jacob Cowling picture. I got to find it. I'll get it for you.
Wow.
I know.
Way to break my rhythm.
Sorry.
Break my concentration.
I don't know where it was. I've saved it.
Oh, yeah. Just keep talking about it. So Arizona, I thought just across the board looked really good in this game. And then defensively, pretty much shut down that San Diego State passing attack. But, of course, San Diego State's never good offensively. So you got to almost grain of salt any defensive performance against San Diego State, because their offense is always terrible. It's like when you're going against an FCS school, where it's okay, you can't take too much from this. You just don't want to have negatives. I don't think there was many negatives. They only averaged 4 yards a carry. They averaged under 4 yards a pass. So I think you've got to be pretty happy if you're Arizona with the defensive performance. And then offensively, I think there's a lot to like. There's some actual weapons. The offensive line I thought looked pretty damn good. No, I think our read on Arizona that it's a completely transformed team and that the roster shakeup, the amount of transfers they brought in, the impact freshmen, it's going to make an immediate impact. And I think the smart money is on Arizona contending for a bowl this year.
I got it. Sorry. I know I downloaded this picture and it didn't come in there for some reason. So I wanted to get you guys the picture of he is a really good receiver. T-Mac, I think, is going to be really good. The 5-star. They look super competent, right? Like we both picked preseason Arizona to beat San Diego State on the road, despite Arizona getting crushed by San Diego State at home last year. And then we both picked Arizona getting 6.5 points. We were on this one. We were right. New stadium. There wasn't a whole lot of people there. Jane DeLora looked awesome. The last time Arizona won on the road was 2019. So 11 straight road losses. This was, you want to go like, signature win or something, but this was like the win to go. They were 1-11 last year, and they beat Cal in a COVID thing. This shows like we beat a team that's been beating up the Pac-12 for several years on the road. Arizona's plenty competent right now, and I'm probably even a little more bullish than I was before. I think the schedule's tough, so it's going to be a tough kind of turnaround, but I think they might beat some more Pac-12 teams than I really thought going into this one.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the breakdown of how San Diego State scored, one was off a fumble that was on Arizona's side of the field that San Diego State converted to a touchdown, and then the other one was the punt that kicked off the butt of the up man,
right,
and San Diego State recovered it for a touchdown in the end zone. This was a dominant win for Arizona. Like it should have been 38-13 if they'd just been able to punt the ball.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, I think there's a lot to like there.
Yeah. This one, like I felt good. Like, okay, this is kind of where we thought it was going to go, and it did. So I feel really good about it. I just thought that Arizona was going to turn things around. They did. And they're probably even going to be better than what we thought. So kudos to we got some fish heads in the chat. Kudos to Jed Fish. They are looking good. Okay, let's go to our number 5 team.
UCLA Bruins.
All right, UCLA took on Bowling Green in front of a crowd that could have fit inside of Pauley Pavilion with room to spare. They could have played this game at Drake Stadium at UCLA without the conversion to a full on-campus stadium. Like, they could have fit the 9,000 odd fans just on that one row of bleachers. It was hot as hell.
It was hot up there. Eddie says he has more people on Zoom calls than UCLA had the Rose Bowl.
My brother reported from the stadium that he peed when he came in. He peed at the bathroom and then drank a bunch of fluid throughout the game. Went to a baseball game after this game, drank a bunch of fluid there. Didn't pee again until about midnight at his hotel room. So about 12 hours, no pee, just pure sweat.
Wow.
Just all the urea just coming out of your body, but purely through your glands. So that's the backstory.
Okay.
UCLA won 45-17. It was a blowout. However, it was a weird start to this game. Bowling Green was up 17-7 at one point. UCLA special teams were a disaster. They never stopped being a disaster. It's just the offense started to get going and the defense completely shut down Bowling Green. But special teams were awful. They missed 2 field goals. The punt returner fair caught too late, then muffed a punt, and then didn't fair catch, took 2 big hits, and had the muff, obviously. Bowling Green, though, was only able to put 1 drive together. UCLA's defense, again, when you're playing a game like this, you're just not looking for negatives. You're looking to avoid the negatives, and I think defensively they did that. There wasn't really much negative to draw from this game. They got pressure. They made Bowling Green's horrible quarterback look horrible. He is horrible. Probably one of the worst quarterbacks I've seen in major college football in quite some time. And then UCLA's offense was fine. They ran the ball okay. Dorian Thompson-Robinson had one weird interception, but otherwise was pretty good. He had this really great 68-yard touchdown run where he got basically no blocking and still made it to the end zone. And UCLA's offensive line, I think, was there were some question marks, particularly at right tackle. But otherwise, did what they needed to do, won by 4 touchdowns.
Yeah, this was – so we both picked Bowling Green to what was it, 23-point spread. We took Bowling Green. It was 17-7 Bowling Green. I'm feeling pretty good. We have like a 33-point cushion and still didn't cover. We still didn't cover this game.
I know. Well, the thing is, so I picked it one way on this show, and then I did my preview for the game where I had done a little bit more research by that point, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to change this a little bit. And I literally picked this final score. I picked 45-17.
You did. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
We got someone in the chat, Mr. Apollo. He was there. He had to represent. But it was hot. Yeah, it was. Yeah. I was at the USC game. It was hot. I mean, I was in the air-conditioned press box, but just getting to the game. We did like a tailgate and stuff beforehand too. But yeah, it was definitely oppressive in Los Angeles, but that was a very sparse crowd. Hopefully, UCLA's got a couple good out-of-conference games coming up, so get more people in the Rose Bowl. Because there's no students on campus.
It's the worst schedule of all time. This weekend is Alabama State. That'll be fun. It's going to be a HBCU.
Alabama's an amazing program. I can't believe Alabama's coming to the Rose Bowl. Awesome.
But there's going to be. Unless they pack the stands with a bunch of high school kids like they've done in the past. I mean, it's going to be another 20,000. I think this coming weekend, because there won't be the heat, but it's going to potentially be storming. It might be the exact same deal.
Southern Californians hate rain more than heat.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Just an iron core of 10,000 fans who show up.
It would be interesting if UCLA was you know what we could do? We could actually pay people if they show up. Wouldn't that be a cool thing? No one would ever do that, obviously.
Make the tickets free.
No one would ever pay people to show up or because they showed up right. That would never happen. But if they did, that would be kind of cool. I mean, it wouldn't look good, I think. Obviously, the optics would be pretty terrible. So I'm sure they wouldn't do that.
Shouldn't. Absolutely. Do it.
They did it. What was the offer? You get $25 credit?
That was after the fact. Okay. They paid them after the fact for showing up. It was a reward, not an enticement.
I guess they saw how many people were there. This is not going to cost us that much. We could free chicken sandwiches.
It was a reward, not an inducement, sir.
Okay. All right. Let's go to all the Phoenix talk can now come to a head because no pun intended.
Yeah, baby.
Our number 4 team,
Washington Huskies.
Phoenix. Phoenix led Washington 45-20 over Kent State. I would say my biggest takeaway here, beyond Phoenix, was that Phoenix actually looked really good. That offense is moving. Kalen DeBoer has already made that has already breathed life back into the Washington offense more than anything else. How many times in this show over the last 4 years have we talked about how boring and depressing Washington's offense is? How it takes all this work and all this effort to throw a 4-yard pass, and now it's just coming easy again. It's coming easy, and you got to give credit to Phoenix and DeBoer. But it was he was really, really good. And then running the ball, yeah, I'm happy for Wayne Talapapa. I don't know how that one's going to work out long term, but they threw the ball really, really well. And then defensively, look, Jimmy Lake's not there anymore. The defense might be a work in progress. Kent State was moving it pretty well at various points in this game. It was really turnovers that kept Kent State from probably covering this one. But look, you take the good, and the good is that Washington's offense for the first time in years looks like it might be fun to watch.
Yeah. I mean, there's another one I feel good about as far as you had a first-time head coach, defensive guy who was not doing the right things, not just with the offense, but with everything with the team last year, and you bring in someone that's really good at their job. Like, was he good at Indiana running an offense? Yes. Was he good at Fresno State running an offense? They beat UCLA. I mean, they looked really good. Yes. He had Jake Haener at Fresno State. You're like, oh, they bring in Michael Penix, and you feel like he's going to be good. They work together already. In my mind, it's like, okay, you brought someone that's very competent at running an offense to run an offense, and you're going to go from a team that didn't look like they wanted to offense, sort of Cal-like, and then they will. And so I feel like there was enough talent on this roster. You have a coach that's really good at something. You know, it's funny, like, one of the things, and I've seen this around USC, like if you promote an offensive coordinator or defensive coordinator to be the head coach, like you want them to be usually the coordinator should be elite, right? Not like, well, he's a good leader of men or whatever. Sometimes it works out. Like I think like a Dabo Sweeney was like he's more of like a kind of a CEO. He wasn't really known as like an X and O guy, but he was the interim and it worked out. He's managing the team well. But if you're promoting like, Lincoln Riley at USC was a stud offensive coordinator. You get a guy, Kalen DeBoer, like he was really good at what he's doing. Like those are the guys you want to promote. And then you say, okay, well, I know one thing. Washington's offense is going to be really freaking good or, very, very competent. And they were. And I think that's a good thing. This was a 23.5 point spread. Sneaked it out. So got the cover here. So Dave had Kent State. So I needed this one badly. That's the last game. Coaching matters though. That's what one of my notes here is it's coaching matters. They're very competent on offense. Penix completed his first, 9 of his first 11 passes. And this is what I thought, and they were good enough. They were a good enough team. They were a good enough roster that if you brought in a good coach, they would at least be good on the offensive side of the ball. If you score points, you can win games. So I feel good about what Washington did. Kent State's Kent State, but just look at them and you're like, oh, they're going to be pretty good. And that's our takeaway. That's why we have them in the top 4.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We get so many funny comments. Brett, Penix really penetrated the defense.
Penix.
Okay, so there's a lot of really fun ones there. They're saying Ryan say it right. We did have a question.
Penix is going under center.
Okay, hold on. I need to put this question up because this must be a new user. Brian, have you thought about changing your opening highlights? Miles Jack hasn't been in college for quite a while. Okay, so you must be new because we try to avoid doing work at all possible.
Also, and I don't think I've ever listened to the opening section of the show. Maybe once.
I heard you almost listening to it at the beginning.
Yeah,
today.
and then I quickly turned it off.
Right, like you. Of course, we're like on the mics are hot, and you. But Reggie Bush is in the Matt Leinert's in it too. He hasn't been in college in a while either. That was a long time ago. But the intro was made for us, and that was really nice. We do need to get a video intro made. So we're basically just like a screen. So we need someone to kind of help out with that. We need some help with some of these graphics and stuff. So we're just kind of put this together. I cobbled this together to do the show live, and it's good. I mean, I feel good. Like we have like 45 people or 50 people or something watching right now, live on a Thursday morning, which kind of cool. So I appreciate you guys all doing that. And we'll try to get, gutsy up the graphics a little bit and fix all that kind of stuff. All right, well, let's finish. We got a few more left. Our number 3 team we have.
Oregon State Beavers.
The Beavs.
Yeah. The reason they're up at number 3 is not so much that they won 34-17 over Boise State, but because they were up 24-0 at halftime. This was on the verge of being a dominant blowout. It still was a very convincing win. I think they finished as like a 1.5 point favorite in this one after the late line moves. So this was expected to be more or less a pick'em. And Oregon State instead turned it into a laugher. Now, caveats are important. We got to give out caveats. Boise State, I don't think is going to be any good this year. And I think Andy Avalos is going to be fired there very quickly because they still will have expectations. But I think he's running that program into the ground. And Hank Bachmeier, the quarterback for Boise State, who started the game, one of the reasons Avalos should be fired is starting him. He was horrible, threw 2 picks, had a fumble. And then Taylor Green came in and looked a lot better, running the ball and throwing the ball. It didn't look like Oregon State defensively had a really good answer for him. So that's probably, if you want a concern, if you're an Oregon State fan, it's the way you defended a guy who can run the ball at quarterback. Taylor Green was really able to move it. Some of that might just be weren't prepared for it because you were expecting Bachmeier. Aside from that, though, I would say Oregon State looked really good. I think Chance Nolan, that first half that he put up, I mean, he looked like the best quarterback in the league. He came down to earth in the second half a little bit more. Had a couple of weird plays where he didn't look very good, but he still finished with over 10 yards an attempt. Had 2 interceptions, 2 touchdowns. The great Jack Coletto was back. I don't know how many years he's been in college now. It's got to be 7, right?
He's a team captain. I got a picture of him up there, and it's been a minute.
Yeah,
since he's been in college.
He's been there a while.
Yeah.
He had a touchdown run, doing that kind of wildcat package. But yeah, I mean, I think Oregon State looked good. A lot of guys ran the ball well. Deshaun Fenwick had a bad fumble, but otherwise, they had a lot of guys running the ball. And overall, I would say it was a convincing, very good win over a team that still has quite a bit of talent for the Mountain West.
Yeah. This was, oh man. Unfortunately, we can't put up any more comments. So for whatever reason, we can only do an hour's worth of YouTube comments. So we can't put any more up on the screen, but we'll be able to read them and stuff as well. I just want to let everyone know that. As far as the game goes, Oregon State's defense, I thought played pretty good. I agree with Dave. I don't think Boise is going to be that good, but they internal hire. You know, for a defensive coordinator, you're like, but it just looked more aggressive. It looked like they were like a competent defense, which a lot of times last year they weren't. We both got this one right. They covered easily. Nothing going for Boise State in the first half. I mean, they really got nothing going. This is the first season opening win for Oregon State since 2015. And I feel like, I don't know if they're going to be like a 9-win kind of team, and I think I predict them to go like 10-2 or whatever. But I feel good about this. Was one of those ones you got to get early.
You're still embarrassed about that, and you're still trying to walk it back, even after watching them beat Boise State by 17.
No, I'm not trying to walk it back. Like if I picked it now, I'd probably still go like 9 wins.
Sheepishly. You're like 10-2. Commit to it. Own it.
Go
Respect
Beavs. 10-2.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, but obviously. It's a team that looks good. They looked good out there. This is a really good win. The Pac-12 had some crap losses. Arizona's win against San Diego State, it's a good win. This is a good win against Boise State. The problem is that the wins at the top didn't come, but these are teams that have given Pac-12 fits in years past, and so kudos to the Beavs for a big win there.
Short Round has a good comment.
Oh.
Mom, can we have Miles Jack? We have Miles Jack at home, honey. Miles Jack at home, Jack Coletto.
That is a good comment. I wish I could have put that one up.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go to our number 2 team.
USC Trojans.
So many USC fans just are listening to this and rioting right now. They're like, no, we're number 1, baby, because we beat up on a staple food. 66-14, beat up on Rice.
I got this one right. I never pick USC to cover big spreads.
Okay, but the reason you got it right is because how many pick sixes were there in this game?
3. Pac-12 record.
3 pick sixes is why you covered. Otherwise, they
would have scored every other time. They punted once, and it was when the backups came in.
Yeah, whatever. No, but if Rice had foolishly had decided they weren't trying to win the game, but instead were just trying to work out their offense, they would have kept running the ball instead of throwing it. Rice was actually moving the ball pretty well on the ground early. And then I don't know what they were thinking, deciding to throw the ball in the middle stretches of this game, but they did. And each time it went to a USC defender. USC, their offense looked exactly as terrifying as everyone wished it wouldn't. So that sucked. Caleb Williams only threw 3 incompletions. Miller Moss only threw 1 incompletion. Combined, somehow the team threw an incompletion. Who knows? ESPN stats are fucked up. But running the ball, it was just insane. It seemed like everybody they handed the ball to, including the quarterbacks, just, okay, here's 10 yards. Yeah, I mean, how much can you take from a game against Rice? I guess that's the one solace the rest of the Pac-12 can take is that it's still just a staple food.
It is. I think it's the same thing where you look at a team that you're like, okay, you think they're going to be better. You should have blown out Rice, and you blow out Rice. And that's what Arizona State did. It's what USC did. You hadn't seen the kind of a semblance. You put this roster together in an interesting way. There's a lot of great pieces. Hey, it's Caleb Williams and Jordan Addison. Are they going to be on the same page? Yeah, okay. 2 touchdowns between the 2 touchdown passes. Like, yeah, okay, that made sense. You bring in like Travis Dye, who didn't score a touchdown, but he did a really good job in the pass protection blitz pickup stuff. Austin Jones scores a couple touchdowns. Rayleigh Brown, the freshman, looked really electric. They spread the ball around. I think 12 different guys caught passes. You mentioned, the 3 pick sixes, 4 interceptions total. They had some defensive problems early on, and then they looked better. They only gave up 1 first down in the whole second half. So yeah, I think you look at it like, yeah, that's what you should have done. The thing with USC, they would have been the talent disparity between what USC was in the past and Rice would be about the same, and they would still, it would be 24-17. And this was not. This was 66-14. And that's what you should have done. The general feeling is, okay, this looks like it's a competent team. Obviously, it'll be a bigger test this weekend when they play Stanford. But that's just I kind of wanted to see the roster together. And is this really a fully operational Death Star?
That blast came from the Death Star. That thing's operational.
What happened to the Death Star?
Heat flow through you.
What happened to the Death Star at the end of those movies? I can't remember.
Every single one, it gets blown up.
Right.
It's almost like the Wile E. Coyote. Like,
yeah.
It's like you're just.
Here's just a note for the rest of the Pac-12. Terrell Bynum and Brendan Rice combined for 1 catch for 5 yards.
Mm.
Yeah. They would have been the number 1 receivers for their teams this year.
Yeah.
If they had stayed.
I'm curious to see. They got Tosh Washington got really involved in this one. He was like the leading receiver as far as yards go. I think Brendan Rice will play a bigger role. I'm not sure about Bynum, but I've heard a lot of good things about Bynum. He's been, he's a
it could have been
veteran leader.
It could have been Rice on Rice.
That's what we wanted to see, a little Rice on Rice. Yeah.
Yeah.
But Caleb Williams looks like a stud. Like he had 3 incompletions. One was a drop.
The headlines.
One was a throwaway, and one was like Mario Williams caught the ball, but it was like foot was just out of bounds. Like he was almost perfect.
We needed a big Brendan Rice touchdown, so it could have been Rice Cooks.
Rice Cooks. Well, but I mean, it would be all the pick sixes, but 3 pick sixes was crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a thing that doesn't happen that often.
The 4th interception, I was like, pick, but no 6. Like, oh, whatever. Okay. We got now our number 1 team. Is this weird that our number 1 team hasn't won a game yet? But our number 1 team is
Utah Utes.
All right, here's the thing. So it's because of your stupid narrative building that people are taking the wrong message from this one. Because here's the deal. Utah looked good in this game. They looked good. Florida looks good. Florida is now a top 10 team. Like, Florida looked good in this game. They look like a good SEC team. They look like a team that's going to cause problems in the SEC and potentially be like a top 2 team in the East. So, like, going in there and losing by 3 when your quarterback throws a pick in the end zone at the very end of the game after driving downfield, that's as close as you get to a coin flip loss as you can possibly get in college football. And you're going to lose games like that occasionally while still being a really, really damn good team, which is what I think Utah is. Cam Rising, aside from that 1 pick, looked really good in this game. They ran the ball really well against an SEC defense with at least one dude. Did you see that SEC defensive tackle? The guy was a monster.
There's
huge
some big boys down.
But there was they ran the ball really well. I would say defensively there's some concerns for sure. Florida was able to run the ball way too easily. And Anthony Richardson's really good, but they were able to run the ball way too easily. But those are all things that are correctable, and Florida has a bunch of talent. Their quarterback is going to be a pretty high pick in the NFL draft after this year. So I think everyone who's like, oh, God, this means Utah's not very good, taken the exact wrong lesson from this because of your stupid narrative building, Ryan.
My narrative building?
Your narrative building about this game impacted everyone's assessment.
It is. This is the worst loss for the Pac-12 possible. I thought Cameron Rising was okay. He wasn't as good as I thought. That was a really bad interception. You're down inside the 5. You can tie the game with a field goal. You don't need to force something in there. He did. It gets picked off, and you lose. This was he completes that pass. They go to overtime. I can cover this game. This was the deciding factor.
I love how much of this is just based on your personal resentments about having not covered.
They should have covered this game. They actually scored. He scored.
So he did score on third down.
He scored on third down.
They needed to at least review that.
Right. That was, that wasn't good. But couple trips inside the 6-yard line and not scoring, that's not good. That should have been reviewed. But Anthony Richardson, he's like Cam Newton, basically, the Florida quarterback. We heard a lot about him, what he's going to look like. As advertised or better. I mean, he was just great. To get, I think it was twice inside the 1 they didn't get anything out of. That was crazy. They didn't even, their flight coming home got, the mechanical issues on the plane. Things just went wrong. And to David's point, a lot of things went wrong in this game, and they were still almost won.
They were one throw away from at least tying it and potentially winning the game in regulation.
Yeah, just a throw that just was incomplete, then you tie the game. You can't throw the interception there. You throw it to the stands or whatever. But that's why I still think Utah's a really good team. I'm not changed. That's not changed. I agree with your assessment. Utah's really good. A lot of shit just went wrong. Things didn't go their way. And that's just okay, so you end up losing this game. But I feel like this is a really important result for the Pac-12. And it's bad for the Pac-12. And in a 14 playoff world, yeah, Oregon getting blown out like that, you played 2 games in the SEC country and lost both. And so I think the narrative on the Pac-12 is going to be worth a crap is just gone. I don't think they're going to think much about the Pac-12 now because of this game. But
Who's they and why do we care?
Because we're not this insular thing on the West Coast. We actually exist in the entire landscape of college football.
Here's the thing. If Utah rips off 11 straight wins and Florida looks as good as they looked in this game, Florida's going to be a 9-3 team probably in the SEC. It's not going to be a bad loss. It's just not going to be.
Yeah.
So Utah will have won 11 straight at that.
Florida could have a really good.
My point is Utah, I think, still to a large extent controls its own destiny. Obviously, there are circumstances where the Pac-12 could get shut out of the playoff. I know a one-loss Pac-12 team could get shut out of the playoff, but it requires a lot of other leagues going undefeated. It requires a champion going undefeated, which doesn't happen as often as you think. So I still think Utah has a decent enough chance. It obviously wasn't ideal, but nothing that happens in week 1 makes or breaks a league.
Disagree. Broke the league. It's done. League broken. All right, that's our recap.
We've got breaking news in the chat. Queen Elizabeth II dead.
Did she pass away?
That's the word.
She's never returned my text, so I assume.
I don't know. Maybe it's
wrong.
fake news. I don't see it.
I saw that she was hospitalized this morning or something, so I assume that's the thing. But R.I.P. to Queen Elizabeth. All right, let's take a quick break, and we'll come back and preview next week.
How was your break?
My break was good. How was your break, David?
It was great.
Nice.
Great.
Okay. Well,
she is dead.
She's passed away. How old was she? She was 90
old as hell. 96.
96. That's a lot.
That's a lot of years.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know much. I'm not a big royal family person. I don't know much about it, but she seemed like a good human being. So
a lot of bodies on that monarchy. A lot of death and destruction.
You're gonna do okay. We're gonna go there. All right.
Whatever.
I don't know. All right, let's get to our game previews. All Saturday games this week, right? I believe.
Yep, nothing early.
So we're going to go through in the order of which they will be played this time, and we're going to do our picks against the spread. Before we do that, the survival pool we have to talk a little bit about that. So last week, you and I both picked Stanford. This week, we both pick California. So we're on the same lines, at least for right now. Thanks to, we got the tabulation. Matthew does an awesome job with that. So thank you for doing that. We have, it's a little bit of like kind of breaking news. We have to give out a gift card for sure, a jockey gift card. We have our Podcast of Champions Listener of the Century. Okay, there's an award. We should have waited till hour and 15 minutes in the show to talk about Mark S. to be specific. So we had like 100, I don't know, 200 people, something like that, enter the picks, the survival pool. Only 3 people didn't advance because 3/4 of them picked Stanford. And then some other teams were picked. 2 people picked Utah, which I get. That's just a tough one, a road game in the swamp. But, you
get people picking Utah at Florida with a 3-point spread.
I don't get it. Like, Utah's going to get some wins down the road. Like, you don't need to get Utah out of the way. Like, I don't know why you pick Utah. Whatever. You picked Utah in the first week. Maybe you don't understand how the survival pool works. You just pick the team you think is the best or something. I'm not sure. But there's one team that you definitely should not have picked. And Mark S. did it and paid the price. He picked Colorado. We had one person pick Colorado. Mark, wherever you are, I need you to email us the show. I will send you a gift card to Jockey. They're supposed to be on their way. As soon as I get one, I will send it your way. You are the POC Listener of the Year for picking
So he was probably going
Colorado.
he was going Galaxy Brain because he was thinking, look, Colorado doesn't have a win on the schedule that I can see. TCU might be bad. I'm going to get this one out of the way, and then I've got that under my belt. No one else can pick Colorado the rest of the year because they're going to lose every other game. I'm going to get the one win. That's what he was thinking.
I mean, okay, so at Air Force, at Minnesota, I guess if you have to pick Colorado in an out-of-conference game, you pick the home one. But would you rather?
I don't know, dude.
I don't know.
It's a really bad one.
You're really thinking like, because if you're worried about week 12 taking Colorado against whatever, like Utah, like, okay, when do I got to sneak Colorado in? I'm going to try to sneak them in week 1.
No.
Yeah. But you are the Pac-12. I mean, you embody what the Pac-12 what the Pac-12 podcast is.
Listener of the century.
The incompetence level is as high as ever. So you are the listener of century. So I didn't run that by Dave. I just thought he would agree.
Absolutely.
Okay. Let's go to our first game. We've got
Utah Utes.
This is against Southern Utah. What the hell are the Southern Utah? They're the Thunderbirds.
Yeah.
So it's sort of like a You like it?
Yeah, I like that.
Or should
Just
it be thunder first?
Nice.
Is that good?
Yeah.
Which one was better?
The first one was better.
Okay.
Didn't blow out the mic.
Hey, I was stood a little bit further back.
Nice.
By stood, I mean sat, as I do. This is on at 10:30 a.m. on the Pac-12 Network, Southern Utah, traveling to number 13 Utah. I feel like number 13 Utah is going to take out some biblical fury. Is it biblical? Should be Book of Mormonical. They'll take out some fury of some religious variety, some fervor.
Okay.
On Southern Utah. But will they do it to the tune of 45.5 points?
Yeah.
Because that's our spread on this one.
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think they're going to blow them out, but I don't think it's going to be 45.5 points. So I'll take Southern Utah plus the points.
That's just
That's too many
way
points.
too many points. And like, are you like this is a team in your own state? Are you really going to want to like blow them the F out? I don't know. Maybe. I got little notes from the Pac-12. Utah's won 26 consecutive non-con home games, so probably going to win this one. Third longest active streak in the FBS. Last time they lost was Boise State, and it was bad, 36-3 back in 2006. And their average, they've scoring 37.2 points per game during that streak, and the average margin of victory is 22.2. So I don't know about 45.5. I think that's just too many points. So I will go with Southern Utah as well.
Toads.
Next up, we've got
Washington State Cougars.
All right, this is 12:30 on Big Fox. Washington State going at number 19, Wisconsin. Badger, 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 Snaky, Snaky, Badger, 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 Badger. The Badgers are favored by 17.5 points. Okay, so what we saw from Washington State in Week 1 is a team that's not very good.
Yes.
However, they were probably looking ahead to this one, would be my guess. These are the sorts of rationalizations you make. We haven't really seen Wisconsin yet in a real game. They played Illinois State in Week 1, shut them out 38-0. It's a home game, Washington State. 17.5 is a lot, but I'm still going to take Wisconsin.
Yeah, me too. Sorry, Washington State. I just can't. I feel like the comeback, you could turn around, can happen. The game 1, game 2 thing is going to have to happen, but you're struggling with Idaho. This is Wisconsin on the road. Camp Randall, jump around, all that stuff.
Badger, Badger, Badger.
Badger, Badger. I don't think. Renard Bell, the wide receiver for Washington State, Dave, he had a touchdown pass on Saturday against Idaho. He's now caught a touchdown from 7 different quarterbacks. Pretty cool, huh?
That is pretty cool.
Dating back to 2006, Darren Carrington is the only other Pac-12 receiver to catch 7 passes, TG passes from 7 different quarterbacks for Oregon and then for Utah as well. So he was on different teams. And then he's got Bell's had caught a pass from 9 different quarterbacks during his time in Pullman, but 7 touchdowns. So that was kind of a cool one.
Yep.
So thanks to the Pac-12 for that note. All right, we're going to stick with the same. So we'll probably start at 0-2 again, right? Because we're agreeing on the first 2 games.
True.
Okay.
Yeah.
Here's one I will probably agree on.
Colorado Buffaloes.
12:30 p.m. on CBS. Colorado traveling to the United States Air Force Academy. These are the Falcons. So, caw, caw. I can only do crows. That's it. The Air Force Academy, the United States Air Force, is favored by 17.5 points. I have no idea if Air Force is any good. None whatsoever. Give me Air Force.
Yeah, how could I? No. No.
We must have the courage of our convictions, and one of our convictions is that Colorado may be one of the worst teams in college football history.
Right. Now maybe they start JT Stroud. I don't know. This is on the road. But here's Colorado.
Here I stand. I can do no other. I am the Martin Luther of thinking Colorado is butt.
So since 2017, the Buffs are 5-17 on the road, including 0-5 last year. They're combined 32-9-1 all time on the road versus in-state Division I teams, which Air Force would be. They're 5-1 at Air Force, but I don't think it's going to matter. I don't know much about Air Force either. I can't, with a good conscience, pick Colorado in this game. So give me Air Force. Go Falcons or whatever they are. Yeah, go Falcons. Sorry, we feel bad because the Buffs. We like the Buffs.
I love the Buffs, but
I think there's going to be so butt.
It's hard, man.
Okay, next up we've got
California Golden Bears.
This is a 1 p.m.er again on a Pac-12 regional network. The UNLV Running Rebels. There's pee running down my leg. I'm running from the Union. They're going to kill us. Taking on the California Bears. Cal is a 13-point favorite over UNLV in Berkeley. UNLV in week 1 pasted Idaho State.
Yeah.
Last year, UNLV was horrible.
Yes.
2-10.
All these big numbers, all these big spreads.
Really, really bad. I got to take Cal here.
Yeah.
13 points is that's not enough.
I think they can beat them by a couple touchdowns. So yeah, give me Cal. I feel pretty good about this one, and we'll roll from there. Okay. Let me give you your Cal stat. Do you know how many turnovers Cal committed last year?
How many?
Just 10. It was the second fewest in the Pac-12. 6 games. Half the time they didn't commit a turnover. So 3 games with just 1. They are 21-13 under Justin Wilcox when committing 1 or fewer turnovers. So I think they don't turn the ball over, they cover the spread. They turn the ball over a couple of times, they probably won't cover the spread.
There you go.
All right. Next up, we've got
Washington Huskies.
Another 1 p.m.er on a regional Pac-12 network. Portland State Vikings. I'm Utrecht, son of Utrecht of Bebempa. Taking on Washington. That was a little Last Kingdom reference for everyone out there.
don't even know what that is.
This is Washington. Washington's a 28.5 point favorite. Portland State's classically a pretty good FCS school. However, Washington's going to pace them by more than that. So give me Washington.
I feel like this is because if Washington was favored, which is because they have a lot of talent, but they had like a Jimmy Lake offense kind of thing, you're like, no, there's no way. This is going to be an Washington offense that's just scores a bunch of points. The backups are going to score points, and I think they cover this one fairly easily. Okay, next up, we've got – oh, wait. Let me give you your Washington stats. Sorry. I got all these good stats. Michael Penix became the first Washington quarterback with 300 yards passing, 4 touchdowns in his first game with the team since
Jake Browning.
No. Which Jake? Jacob Eason in 2019 versus Eastern Washington.
Jake Penix.
Second straight year for a Pac-12 quarterback has accomplished this feat with Jackson Dart against Washington State last year. So 300-plus yards and 4 touchdowns. I think that's why they end up covering the spread. All right, next up, we got
UCLA Bruins.
All right, this is on at 2 p.m. On the Pac-12 network. Alabama State, FCS school, the Hornets. I don't know. Does that work?
Sure.
You like that? Going to UCLA to take on the Bruins. Here's what I'll say about Alabama State. Alabama State is one of the worst FCS schools. They're not good. UCLA should be respectful and not cover the 50.5 point spread, and I'm going to bet on them not doing so.
Same. I mean, I can't imagine UCLA scoring 50 in this one.
No, they shouldn't. Like, what they should do is win a solid 5 touchdown game and call it a day. Like,
right.
Put in the third string guys because it's just,
You're not,
You're not trying to set records against ASU. This ASU.
So
other ASU will blow them out by 7.
So this game happened because UCLA ducked Michigan or something. Is that what's the deal?
Yeah. So Michigan ducked the game.
Not UCLA.
No, it was Michigan that backed out. I will kill you. Michigan backed out, and so Martin Jarmond decided, okay, well, we have a tough time filling that spot, so let's do it with something cool. Do the HBCU thing, which fine, I respect it. The FCS thing was like a little feather in the cap for Notre Dame, USC, and UCLA. Notre Dame and UCLA are both doing it. USC caved under fan pressure not to do it. But so yeah, they're breaking the streak with an HBCU, which will be cool. But you got to be respectful. Don't beat them by 60.
Yeah. UCLA. I don't know if you know this. Last year, when they ran for 200 yards plus, 8-0. Under 200 yards, 0-4.
Ah.
Interesting.
Yeah, it correlates with playing good teams versus bad teams.
Yeah. So they've run for at least 100 yards in 20 straight games. That's pretty good. 15-4 Chip Kelly when he ran 200 yards plus. So I'm sure they're going to run for all of the yards in this one, but just try to keep out of the end zone a few times. All right. Now we got the big one, the first Pac-12 matchup of the 2022 football season. We have
USC Trojans
on the road taking on
Stanford Cardinal.
All right, this is at 4:30 p.m. on ABC. Number 10 USC traveling to Stanford. Always a weird one every single year, and it seems like Vegas is once again predicting a weird one. Stanford is only an 8-point dog in this game. We are on the record as thinking Stanford is still booty. And USC, their offense looked gangbusters against Rice. Rice and Stanford, weirdly enough, run a similar offense because of their lineages. I got to go. So here's the thing. My instinct is USC wins this game by 38, not 8.
Right.
But I have to like go with history. Like there's a little bit of me that's like, well, the history of this is that Stanford always weirdly wins a game. Will this be one of the Stanford games that they weirdly win? And I just can't see it. So give me USC. I don't feel great about it.
I feel pretty confident about this one.
How confident did you feel last year about USC Stanford?
I mean, it was like a weird USC team, so I don't like.
Yeah, but
I
you
just thought Stanford was terrible.
Yeah, I know.
This is not a terrible USC team.
I'm with you. I'm with you. I think USC should blow them out. I think they should, but it's just Stanford's always weird. They beat Oregon last year. Why did that happen?
Yeah, well, because the offensive coordinator was sick. He didn't go. Yeah, I know Stanford could do some weird stuff, but this is not going to be it. They're not. So I think Stanford's receiver core is better. I think they could, the defense will be okay, but they're just not going to be able to. Like Kyrie Kelly is like amazing cornerback, but he can lock up one receiver. He can't lock up all of them. So I think USC is just going to score too many points in this one. So Stanford wins those games where they can kind of get out ahead of you and just sort of like, boa constrictor strangle you and stuff.
Right.
I just think USC is going to just track meet it. And then, USC had 58 offensive plays against Rice and
Right.
66 points. Now but they just were very efficient. So, okay. Fun facts. USC's 3 interceptions returned for touchdowns was a school record and a Pac-12 single game record. 4 Pac-12 schools have done that though. So the last time it happened was Arizona State against UCLA in 2008. 3 pick sixes against the Bruins. For Stanford, E.J. Smith, that 87-yard touchdown run that you talked about, he's Emmitt Smith's kid. It was tied for the 5th longest in Stanford history. Nathaniel Pete did an 87-yarder last year in week 2 against USC. Emmitt Smith has the longest run in Florida football history, which was 96 yards against Mississippi State in 1988. So a little family legacy there. Okay, next up we've got
Arizona State Sun Devils.
This is another 4:30 game. A lot of just cross-pollination of Pac-12 teams and good games at the same time. 4:30 p.m. on ESPN2, Arizona State traveling to Stillwater, Oklahoma to take on the number 11 Oklahoma State Cowboys. Yeehaw! Oklahoma State's what did I have them as?
11-point favorite.
11-point favorite. So this one really comes down to how much of a believer you are in ASU after that opening game, and I'm just not ready to get there. I think Oklahoma State is a better program, better team. They always have an offense. ASU, if ASU, I'll be prepared to go ASU after this game if they're respectable. They don't even have to win, but just be respectable.
Yes.
But I think Oklahoma State wins by 3 touchdowns.
If Arizona State covers, I'm definitely going to be a bigger believer in the Sun Devils, but I can't go there yet. I'm going to go with you. I don't like that we're picking all the same stuff. I kind of want to switch something, but I'm not switching this one. You got to have to prove me wrong. I didn't like Arizona State's chances going in. More competent than we thought in week 1, which is great, but this is going to be on the road against a, number 11 team in the country. So I don't think this one's going to be that close. Hopefully I'm wrong for the Pac-12, and we kind of move on there. Arizona State, it'll be the 4th straight year that the first road game is against a ranked opponent. 3 road wins against ranked opponent under Herm. So that's pretty good. They had 3 total from 2003 to 2017 road wins against ranked teams. Herm's got 3 of them. It's the 5th most in FBS during that time period. So this would be another one if they could get a early road win against a ranked team. All right, we got a couple more and we'll be done. Next up, we've got
Oregon Ducks.
All right, so this game is an interesting one for me. 5:30 p.m. on the Pac-12 network. Eastern Washington. It's against some sort of bird. Eagles? Caw! Caw! I've got nothing else.
The crows?
I've
The
got
Eastern Washington
nothing else for
crows.
birds. We'll take on Oregon, Pac-12 network. So Oregon is only a 20-point favorite in this game. And
was Eastern Washington any good last year? Or?
They're historically one of the best FCS programs. And this year, Bill Connolly's numbers have them as the 7th best team in the FCS.
Wow.
I'm taking Eastern Washington.
Wow.
I'm taking them to cover this. So Lan Danning was quoted this week as saying that they had a horrible practice on Wednesday, which can go one of two ways. When the coach does that and they're like an experienced guy, I'm thinking, he's motivating his team. He wants to light a fire under their butts to blow a team out. But I don't know. He's just a 36-year-old guy who may or may not have ever coached a defense before in his life. He doesn't have really good coaches. It could be kind of bad news bears up there. So I'm going to lean on that, and I'm going to go Eastern Washington here.
Every fiber of my being is saying take Eastern Washington. And I remember these some Oregon ones where you're like, oh, they're not going to cover, and then they do, or like, wow, Oregon's going to cover. Like
Eastern Washington's super competent, dude.
They are. Don't they have like Tosh Lapoy like calling defenses and stuff?
Yeah, dude. They hired Tosh Lapoy as their defensive coordinator.
You recruit the hell out of everybody.
Well, because Lan Danning can handle the defense because of his experience under Kirby Smart. Lan Danning was a GA in 2015. Like, that's how recently he was just a guy holding a clipboard.
Okay, Eastern Washington. I really want to pick Oregon, and it's gonna kick. I'm just gonna, but if that was the only way we did differently, and I lose because I'm like, that would have been. I've been really pissy. They screwed me last week. Like, I'm not taking them to. Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, I'm not gonna feel bad about that. All right, 2 more left.
Oregon State Beavers.
Oh wait. I got to forget the Oregon thing. Oregon's won 19 straight home games, third longest active streak in FBS. 28 straight non-conference home games. That's second longest streak. And 11 straight non-conference games over non-SEC opponents. So
how'd they do on Wednesdays in the fall when it rains?
Just you getting mad at my stats here?
7:30 p.m. on CBS Sports Network. Oregon State traveling to Fresno State. So it's that Mountain West road game, which I think you should always be nervous about. Fresno State, the Bulldogs. What did I do last week? Like just some weird noises because Bulldogs are horrible, fucked up animals. Oregon State is a 1-point favorite on the road. This opened, interestingly enough, as a Fresno State by 1.5 points. The line has moved towards Oregon State.
Yes.
This is one where I'm out to see a little bit because I think Fresno State's going to be good this year. Do they still have the great Jake Haener?
They have Jake Haener. He did not come to Washington.
Yeah.
So that's why they had to get Michael Penix.
Oregon State has, though, the great Chase Nolan.
Oregon State was really good on the road last year, right?
No, they weren't.
Oh?
No. Give me Fresno State.
Really?
Yeah.
All right. I'm going with the Beavs. I'm taking Oregon State. 1 point, whatever. It doesn't matter. No, I think they're going to be – there's no way they're going to be as – the 10 – I got to go all in the 10-2, right? So they got to go on the road and beat Fresno State. I think they will go Beavs again. And for Oregon State – they've averaged 19.5 yards per completion on Saturday against Boise State. It was Oregon State's highest single game yards per completion since 2006, which was 22 yards per completion versus Washington. Out of the 15 total passes completed, 6 of them went for at least 25 yards. Big play offense. Goes on the road. Tough place to play. That's going to be a huge game. I've been to games in Fresno when it's like big game like that. They go crazy. This is not going to be an easy environment.
When it's big game like that or a big game?
It's a big game.
Okay.
Yes. So, but I gotta take the Beavs, and I'll feel good about it. All right, last one.
Arizona Wildcats.
This is an 8 p.m.er on FS1. The Mississippi State Bulldogs. All right. You like that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could hear the inbreeding. Effed up DNA that they have.
Traveling to Tucson to take on the great Arizona Wildcats. Arizona somehow, some way, is a 10.5 point dog in this game. I don't understand that. This is the Arizona Wildcats. the
We have so
Arizona
many
Wildcats
Arizona Wildcat fans on our podcast feed.
taking on some shit from Starkville,
Hmm.
Mississippi. Are you kidding?
Yeah.
Arizona versus Mississippi State? Where even is that? Who cares?
Who's the coach? It can't be anyone good, right?
No. Don't even look it up. Who cares? Give me Arizona, baby.
Me too.
Give me them straight up.
I love it.
Arizona to win.
Arizona to win. Yeah, I don't know about winning, but I think it's 11 points is good. Short Round says Arizona's Mike Leach's Achilles heel. Go Wildcats. Yeah, no, yeah. Leach has-
So after the bulldog noise, Anthony said, "That sounds how David eats at a buffet."
Jacob Cowing's 3 receiving touchdowns for San Diego State were the most by a player in their Pac-5 debut, Power 5 debut, since Michael Crabtree had 3 back in September of 2007. 15 years to the day. So 15 years before Jacob Cowing did it, Michael Crabtree did it. So that's pretty good company. His 152 yards were also the most in a single game by a Wildcat since Caleb Jones had that many in 2015. So little notes from around the Pac-12.
Love your notes.
Do you like those? Thanks
Yeah.
to the Pac. See, I did a little hobnobbing with some of the Pac-12 people at Media Day and got on this list now. I'm getting some notes. They have really extensive notes about the matchups, but they're like long for each game. I'm like, I can't go into that much detail for each game.
They're
So-
longer than what you're reading?
Oh no! I mean, there's like more than a page for every. Like, this is all the Colorado stuff. This is all the
So these are your curated notes.
Air Force. These are just like called out notes from whatever. But there's matchup notes that are very extensive, and I have not gone through those, which I probably should because it'd probably make my picks better. We only have one pick that's different, the Oregon State game, so that's bad. Should we switch? Should I switch something just to be different?
What is it with you?
What?
Just go with your gut.
Okay.
Your gut is not going to lead you astray.
It very much has.
Never. Why would it?
All right. I guess we got to jump into questions, right?
Yeah, I mean, we're at the hour and 41 minute mark, so
Are
why
we really?
not?
Holy cow.
Yeah.
I've definitely, so for this show that I get not paid for, and we do have a sponsor this time, I've missed Lincoln Riley's press conference. So, like, literally the team that I cover, like, he has a press conference.
You won't be able to do an instant analysis of what he said at the press conference.
I won't be able to do that. Yeah. Well, actually, it might not even happened yet. I don't know. So, yeah. Oh, here we go. Yeah, I'm going to retweet it, like that thing right now. First question we got is from David. He says, "Hi, Ryan and Dave. Great contest. I found picking whoever was playing Stanford or Colorado could work." So he's talking about our survival pool. So picking whoever's playing Stanford or Colorado could work for all but one of the conference games. Next year, try limiting the number of times you can use a losing team. Now that requires skill. By the way, if Colorado can't beat Air Force, I am screwed by week 2. I'm not sure what he means by that. So basically he's saying when we get a conference play, just pick whoever's playing Stanford or Colorado. Every week. So this week you'd have to pick USC this week.
Yeah, but here's the thing: if you're finding yourself picking Colorado at any point this season, you're doing this game wrong.
Or
there isn't an obvious way.
you're 11-0.
No, but the thing is, you're going so galaxy brained. Like, you're just like, oh well, I've got to do this because in week 11, who's everyone's going to pick? We're not getting to week 11, guys.
Right.
Like, and if we are, everyone's going to be in the same boat.
But he's
anyway.
saying pick whoever they're playing.
Yeah, no, and that's right. We could probably do a version of this where it's the losers league, where you can only pick losers every week.
Or you can't pick like opponent. Like you can't. Oh, you've already picked Colorado to be the opponent twice. You can't do that.
Because picking winners in Pac-12 play is a lot easier than picking losers.
Yeah.
Because of all the weird games.
All the weird stuff. Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, this is from Frank. Mystery solved. Hey, you boys. I found out what happened to Hythloday. He ran off with the Dewey Decimal System registrar from the James J. Hill Reference Library. He's living in Athens writing a book on obscure word roots and Greek mythology. Frank in Sacramento. P.S. Greek meaning. The name Hythloday is a Greek baby name. In Greek origin, the meaning of the name Hythloday is speaker of nonsense, expert in nonsense.
We haven't heard from Hythloday for a while.
No, I don't know if Hythloday's a listener anymore.
Yeah, I mean, he might just got tired of us. Which
I would get it.
I get it too. From our buddy John in Brea, U of A. Dear Ryan and Dave, given the Vegas over-under of 2.5 wins for the Wildcats, was betting the over the easiest money in sports betting this year? Bear down, John in Brea.
Honestly, yes. I think that was one of the most obvious ones because I don't think – so a lot of the analytic systems, just my general sense is that they're not incorporating the transfer portal stuff enough into how they're calculating things, especially a transfer quarterback, transfer impact wide receiver, like just the things that they got in the portal to address their needs this year. Like suddenly they have one of the top half passing attacks in the league because they have a quarterback and 2 receivers who are all really good. So this was an obvious one preseason.
Yeah, no, for sure.
This is from Chase. Carl Durrell. Hey, guys. Hopeless Colorado fan here. The last time I asked you both a question, it was about whether or not Mitch Rodriguez was the worst assistant coach in the history of college football, and clearly things have not gotten much better for the Buffs since then. Today's question is more for David, seeing how he has some previous experience here. I think now it's clear that Brendan Lewis just isn't a Power 5 QB, and the little we have seen of JT Shrout suggests he's probably a better option. What I'm wondering is if you think Carl will make a switch or if his boring, risk-averse nature will make him play Lewis longer than he should. Thanks, and as always, keep up the good work. Chase, his boring, risk-averse nature has already made him play Lewis longer than he should. Longer than he should was any snaps in the second half of that game on Saturday, and he did that. I wouldn't put it past him to start him again this week. Or start Shrout and at the first sign of adversity, bring in Lewis, and thus destroy the confidence of 2 quarterbacks at once. He's a bad head coach. I think I can definitively say now, I was hoping that you guys would not get the full Carl Durrell experience. You guys are getting the full Carl Durrell experience, and that means it's going to be bad. It's going to be bad because it's not going to be with early 2000s UCLA talent. It's with Colorado current talent, which isn't as good, and that's not casting aspersions in Colorado. It's just the reality of the thing. There's no Maurice Drew. There's no Mercedes Lewis. And it's going to be rough. You guys have dealt with a lot of rough stuff over the last 15 years, so you guys are used to it. This is going to be worse. It's not going to be fun. Hopefully you can get out from under Durrell at the end of this year, but it's going to be a rebuild.
Yep. This is the update for thanks again to Matthew for doing the Survivor Pool results, but there were 258 entries, so 166 of the 258 people picked Stanford. But people picked Arizona State and then kind of a spattering of the other one. But no one beats Mark S., who picked Colorado. Good for him. What looks worse from Ross? Hey, guys. Which looked worse for the conference? My Ducks being thrown into a wood chipper by possibly the best team in college football, or Utah losing to an unranked Florida team with a brand new coaching staff?
I'm so sorry, Ross, but it's your team being thrown into a wood chipper. It was... So the duck flew into the wood chipper, and then it was just this explosion of feathers, and then a slight goo, like this gamey viscera, kind of just leaked out of the bottom of the thing. But basically, most of the meat of the duck was vaporized. So all that was left over was just feathers and like this gamey, like, I don't know, like a little foie gras, like this mess.
I could see like the little hook of the bill was like off the side, maybe.
Yeah, it couldn't quite get chipped up. But that was one of the worst bloodbaths I think I can remember seeing. Aside from, again, USC versus Alabama was close. So if you want to take solace, maybe you do have Sam Darnold on the sideline.
Yeah.
Maybe Ty Thompson is that guy and we're all just missing it. But if you don't, and really you don't need a Sam Darnold for your offense. You need the equivalent for your defense, and I don't think that exists.
Yeah, I think you're being a little kind, though, on the wood chipper. I would say I would go more like channel your inner itchy and scratchy, and like you sort of like cut off the duck's legs, cut off his head, cut off his wings, and then you sort of like he's in pain, and you put him back together, sew him back together, and then you shoot him, and then you like patch him up a little bit, and then you throw him in the wood chipper. Like you have to like really brutalize this. This duck was not just one incident happening to it. Like there was a whole bunch of things happening. You had to go full itchy and scratchy to go how bad it was for the Ducks. All right. Wait, is this you? You're next or me? I'm not confused.
I did this one.
You did
You're
the
worst.
Next.
Yeah,
okay.
you're Frank.
So Frank, prediction. USC will score half of what they got.
Oh, hang on. Somebody has asked me to do the sound effect of a duck going into a wood chipper. Ready? Quack, quack.
This is the content you don't pay for, people. Frank's prediction is that USC will score half of what they got against Rice. That would be 33. Stanford will score twice what Rice got, which is 28. So USC wins 33-28. So he has Stanford covering. Frank, we disagree, but we will see.
Very much so, Frank. All right, this is from Orlando. Relegation from Disgusted Oregon Fan.
Okay.
Hello, I hope this finds you well and you're able to read this on the show in between laughing your asses off at the fate of the Pac-12 and the recap of the Oregon-Georgia game. That was embarrassing in ways I can't describe. I made special arrangements all offseason and had a full house of family and friends, a few Georgia fans, that left after halftime out of sheer embarrassment. Oregon appears to be one of the worst P5 teams in the country at the moment. Feinbaum said South Carolina State was a tougher opponent for Alabama, and I couldn't agree more. We suck more than anyone could have possibly foreseen. I didn't expect us to win, but I also didn't expect us to just take it. It's like the entire team spent camp reading up on on BDSM ball torture and decided that's what they were into.
Okay.
I've seen Citadel put up more of a fight versus an SEC team. It took over 2 decades, but it looks like the most loathed program in the Pac-12 is finally dying. At this point, I'm seriously considering putting the house on Eastern Washington next week. I know that you all are fans of Premier League relegation like myself. Just for fun, I was wondering what team besides Oregon in the Pac-12 would you relegate and to where? Doesn't have to be to the same conference, and try not to take the easy Mountain West way out. I would personally prefer the Sun Belt. Playing App State and Coastal Carolina seems like a great time, and Oregon would be pretty competitive in that conference. Thanks, and as always, go Ducks. Jesus Christ.
This is the most self-deprecating Oregon fan email we've ever got, right?
Oh, my God. That is brutal.
Yeah, that was a really good one. So, yeah, we do like the relegation thing. Like, neither of us like soccer, but we love the relegation aspect of it. Yeah, I don't know. What team besides Oregon would you relegate? So
in the Pac-12
I think it's got to be Colorado.
Yeah, Colorado's relegated immediately. Sorry.
And they're relegated to...
Colorado goes to...
maybe like Conference USA.
Conference USA would be a good fit for them.
Yeah. Because that conference is like falling apart too, right? So it's perfect. You can go dominate.
No, Colorado goes Big Sky.
Big Sky. Okay.
Have you been to Eastern Colorado? It's Big Sky country.
It's perfect. I like it.
And then Oregon, Oregon in the Sun Belt would be fun.
Okay.
I would take that.
I love it. All right, we got one last one from Perk, and we'll let you guys all go. There's still people watching us live, and how insane is that? Thank you guys for doing that. I mean, there's no way you're gainfully employed, or I don't know, but thank you. No, it's awesome.
I would actually guess the only people listening to this are gainfully employed people working in an office.
Yeah, and they could like just
well,
maybe they're listening and watching, and there's like the live aspect. The live aspect does make it fun. Like I enjoy, on that side, I enjoy doing these kind of things. And we want to try to make I tried to put up some pictures and change the camera angles just so you guys aren't watching like the same. It's not like a Zoom call. You're just watching the same shit like over and over again, just to kind of make it a little fun. And I do love the interaction in the chat and everything. So hopefully you guys are enjoying it. I mean, it's something to do. We're recording anyway. It's kind of a fun little thing.
Yeah,
but,
absolutely.
One last thing from Perk. Big Ten fan bases, Iowa and Indiana. So this is his ongoing series. Indiana, pretty straightforward. They don't care about football because they're Notre Dame fans until basketball season starts. Since everyone in the state is seemingly born out of the womb shooting 40% from three, they're basketball crazy. They're pretty reasonable about expectations. There's a small group that still can't get over firing of Bobby Knight and love him to death because he was a rule follower, except for the choking your players part. But, yeah. Iowa, probably the edgiest fan base in the conference, but then again, most of them went to Iowa because they couldn't get into the Big Ten school they really wanted to attend. They'll talk up their team like they invented football just because they went 9-3 and their star player was a 2-star linebacker. The waving of the kids' part is pretty cool, I must say. Yeah, so they wave to the Children's Hospital, which is you can see from the stadium. I feel bad for Dave because whoever he thinks Whatever he thinks he could lose by leaving David Shaw in the Pac-12, he'll get even worse in return with Kirk Ferentz. They won 7-3 on Saturday without scoring a touchdown and have won 6 games in which they've punted 8 or more times. The next highest win amount with that many punts is 2. Also, his son is the OC. Thanks, and have a great weekend. I saw a tweet where I think it was scoring 7 points. There's only been like 17 wins in like some really long time, and like Iowa has like 6 of them. I don't have the numbers exactly right, but it's something like that. There's like there's not only been so many teams that have won a game, but scoring that few points, and Iowa's been on that list more than anybody.
Right, and we have to watch a lot of Iowa football starting in 2 years. You realize that, right?
Yes,
like that's a thing that we have to do. Are you rethinking this move at all?
I mean, this is above my pay grade, but yeah. I mean,
are you rethinking your optimism about this move? You have to watch Iowa football and care about it.
Maybe they're
not
on
to
the
mention
schedule
Indiana football, Illinois football.
Indiana would be kind of fun.
All these I-states. Do you know where they are? Could you point them out on a map?
Yes, I know the map pretty well.
Yeah, I bet you do.
But Illinois, I got to see. Illinois was my very first game of a college when I went to college.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, we were talking about this.
Yeah. Worst football game I've ever watched in my life. All right, we got a couple of YouTube questions.
Okay.
Should we answer those?
Yeah, let's
these
do
people?
those.
All right, Carlos asks, what happens first? Colorado wins a football game or Ryan caves in and changes David's background?
Okay, this is not Ryan caving in. I've done enough. And actually, I'll give Dave props. He put something in the doc before the show.
That's right.
Our picks.
That's 2 weeks in a row, baby.
So he actually did a little bit of pre-work for the show instead of me doing all this stuff. So that was cool. The background, this is my office. Like, this is my studio. He is welcome to bring in a background. And I've told him, and there's no way he's going to do it. He moves the helmet. I can show you, like, on that. People were liking the overhead cam. He moves the helmet from,
Right
like,
there.
here
Right there.
to there. He moves it out of his way, but he's still there. He's still got the tunnel vision.
It's more to make
background.
room for my computer. Otherwise, I don't really care.
Right. But you're welcome to send in a background. I have, like, a thing to hang that we could do that or something, but I'm not going to put work into that.
Yeah, you will
so,
eventually.
Yeah.
Eventually, you're going to.
Oh, I left our Twitter handle up when I put the overhead thing.
I know
Crap.
you well enough. Oh, yeah, you're not David Woods. Yeah, look at that, sucker.
It's screwed up.
The other thing I would say, sorry, there's another question. You ready?
Yeah. Yep.
This is from Ben. The Queen died today. Thoughts on monarchy versus... Look, I don't necessarily have objections to monarchy generally. I think like there's a scenario where a well-run monarchy where the monarch is actually pretty close to that philosopher king is pretty good, right?
Yeah.
Like if somebody could just make decisions quickly and get things done, that's great. The problem is when you add in all of the other stuff, like, hey, it's got to be your stupid son who's going to be the next monarch. Well, your stupid son is probably inbred because, you know, that's just the way these things go. Also, your kid probably sucks. Like most kids suck. So your kid probably does too. And the thing is, like, an original monarch, like somebody who like comes to power because of their like being cool, they did it because they were cool. Like they had some talent. It's the same thing with coaching, really. Like it's like a coach is really good, and then his kid gets into coaching. How often is that kid good?
Right.
Not often, because they don't have the talent. They don't have the juice. They don't
might have the talent, but maybe not the drive, or maybe
they're missing a piece.
Yeah,
they're
like,
missing an essential piece.
They didn't have to like be a GA here and then move up there. Like
right.
their path was easier. Like they didn't have the adversity on the way.
If you could have a monarchy determined by like an assessment test, like you might be cooking with gas at that point. The problem is the English monarchy is rife with just bandits and horrible people, and
What are the percentages of like English monarchs over the centuries that were like you said, the philosopher king,
that were cool?
They
English
were
monarchs?
they were like really good. Yeah.
English monarchs, it's like 2. Like it's not
total,
much.
really.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's English monarchs are, so they're all like power hungry psychopaths. But like there were like 2 who were kind of cool. But no, English monarchs have been pretty bad. Like Russia has had a couple of better ones.
Yeah.
Like Catherine the Great and Peter the Great were both better than pretty much anyone in English monarch history. A lot of the German monarchs were pretty cool.
Oh.
Most of the French monarchs were inbred freaks, like just absolute psychopaths.
Trying to take over the world.
The Austrian and Spanish Habsburgs were obviously among the most inbred people in the world.
Yeah.
So just not much good there. So I think if you could iron out the kinks with monarchy, then you'd be, you'd have something. Because I think having one person who can just like make the big decisions, if they're really good at it, you get a lot of the bullshit out of the way.
We could use one of those in college football.
Yeah.
I think I read, there was one book I read, I probably have it around here. It was the Russian, what was the last monarch family, something offs.
The Romanovs.
Romanovs, yeah. It was about the Romanovs and then, Lenin, the Lenin stuff kind of came after that. But it's kind of ironic that you would end like the best monarchs were probably the Russians, and then they had the revolution and
So Ben makes the point that I'm comparing an absolute monarch to a constitutional monarch, which I am doing. Britain's monarchy devolved over time from an absolute or close to absolute to constitutional. The idea of an absolute monarchy is actually like kind of faulty historically. Like none of them were really absolute. There was always like councils of nobles and shit.
Yeah.
France got the closest probably in the 1700s, but even then it wasn't really. So yeah, Britain's was the most, I guess you could say, democratic, but all that meant is that you had a bunch of inbred lords also telling you what to do. It didn't get truly constitutional until sometime in the 1800s.
Gotcha. Well, at the 2-hour mark, we definitely want to talk about constitutional monarchies. That's exactly where this show should be. So at least it was like at the beginning when people were like, isn't this like a football show? Or like, well, it's hour number 2, or I guess we're going to hour number 3. We're talking about that.
Final comment. I just heard the Queen died, so naturally I tuned into the POC. And then hashtag RIP Bozo.
I mean, I don't know much.
Long live the Queen.
Yes.
We dropped from 39 people. Oh, no, we went up to 40. More people tuned in right there.
I think we peaked out around 50 people live or something. I don't know, something like that. Yeah, we had 51.
Tight 2 hours. Tight 2 hours.
The opposite. What's the opposite of tight? Yeah, that's what we were here.
Expansive.
Well, thank you, everyone, for listening on our podcasting feed, and thank you for tuning in live. I think this was fun. This was a really fun kind of live show. A lot of good comments and everything. But we appreciate all that. And, we're looking forward to week 2. Enjoy your weekend of Pac-12 football. For David Woods, I am Ryan Abraham. Signing off. Hope you enjoy the show, and we will talk to you next time.
Phoenix.